Since the dawn of time, Titleist have made the best wedge in the game in the Vokey wedges. Introducing the brand new version, the Vokey SM10. I can't believe we've got there so quickly. Is this the best wedge money can buy? They are very, very expensive. You'll see that in this video, we're going to talk a little bit more about money than maybe we do in other videos. But have Titleist lost their spark? Have they lost what makes the Vokey wedge? Because I was lucky enough to spend some time with Mr. Vokey himself on the SM8 launch, and the big talk there was about shifting centre of gravity, shifting CG to make these wedges launch a little bit better, potentially be more forgiving, and ultimately help you with your game. This is Bob Vokey's prototype wedge. Let's do it.
Let's do it now.
Come on, Bob, get yourself in. Bob, if they're new to the channel, they have to hit the subscribe button, don't they? You've got to hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel.
Yes.
Can you just explain to people what this is?
Actually, what this is, the very first prototype, when we went from SM5 to SM6, SM7, we graduated all the way through, so we found out we had to move the CG a little bit forward. Yeah. Originally, we had moved the CG up and down. Yeah. To proper impact in SM6. Graduated to SM7, where we turned around and moved it up. We like the up and down position, but we had to move it a little bit out a little bit, and also a little bit back. But we found by moving it back, we had a little weight pad that added a little bit too much weight on the top line, and as a result, they were getting a changing dynamic law of impact. And that came from it. All the testing, it didn't happen. But when it came back, there was a couple of players out on tour brought that to us. And we went back to my team, Sharp Engineers, a couple of my brainiacs, and they got into it, and they said, you know what we got to do? Because we got to move it a little bit forward. We moved the weight up, but it also, as a result, it ended up moving it back. So the dynamic loft was changing on certain types of shots from certain players, that feedback. So we said the only way to do it, brought it back home. We did a lot of testing, and we found out we had to move the CG forward. As a result, that's what this prototype signifies here, where the CG is a little bit forward.
And this is basically SM8, isn't it?
It's an SM8. So we had to get the furthermost part is the hosel, so we had to we made a little longer hosel, as you can see. If we had to compare the two, the difference in the length of the hosel brings a little bit more weight up, and then we had a little bit of tungsten at the top.
That must excite you.
Oh, sure does. I mean, even I get excited every time we try something new and all of a sudden it works. And I also get excited if it doesn't work, because I'm learning something all day. Every time I learn something all the time. You know, and I said, boy, and I said, all right, good, great. And there's another challenge for me. I never look at things as problems.
Brilliant.
It's challenges.
So the SM9, the big talk was talking about shifting CG, and the SM10, the big talk is about shifting CG. You will know there's loads of different grinds and variations of these clubs. I've actually got them in the new finish. This is quite a nice finish, and this is probably going to be one of the most in-depth product reviews I've ever done, because I've been using these clubs since they came out at the start of the year. I've really enjoyed them. I must say, this isn't me saying that these are bad wedges. Vokey are always going to make a premium wedge. They're always going to make a fantastic wedge. But looking at the price of them, this is where I kind of have a bit of an issue, because have they really changed from the SM9, and have they really changed from the SM8 when we got to meet Mr. Vokey and talk about the wedges? So let's put them through the paces a little bit today. You'll see that I really enjoy the setup that we have. I've got 50, 56 and a 60-degree wedge. Go on, come back. That's done really well to stay there, by the way, because that is a huge ledge going off there. And obviously SM10, what does it stand for? It stands for spin milled. Who remembers the first ever spin milled wedges? They're actually now illegal, so if you still got them in the bag, you're not conforming to the rules of golf. But they're a lot of fun. They are a lot of fun. They used to chew golf balls up for fun. These wedges now are conforming. They have a different MA, and they feel delightful. Is that one long though? I think I'm biting off. That one has gone long, unfortunately. Biting off a little bit too much here, but feel-wise, they feel very, very good. Can they keep up with, for me, the TaylorMade MG4s are probably the best wedges out at the moment. They are fantastic. I love that we've got that kind of raw face on them as well that rusts over time. They look really good. TaylorMade are really good at introducing stories, probably more for marketing than anything else. But like I said, if you look at the price of these clubs compared to SM9, SM8, not so much SM7, because that's before we really saw the huge shifts in CG that do make these wedges perform as good as they do. would you just go and buy a set? I know Bobby, in the Pro Shop Bobby works at, they've got sets of SM8s, haven't you, Bobby, that can potentially save you some money. Let's try and flight this 50 down just a little bit more. That's the one. That is all over it. Be the club. And I feel like you can potentially, that one's gone along as well, although it has spun quite nicely. I feel like you can potentially start to work on a really, really good short game with these clubs. If you're serious about your golf, then Vokey wedges are pretty much going to be for you. If you look in my bag, you'll see I mentioned we have the 56 and the 60. So I have the 56 in a 10-degree bounce S grind and a 60 in 8-degree bounce M grind. We're going to test those as well today. The finish has held up okay. I use these clubs a lot. I practice my short game a lot, not that you can tell today, but I can't blame the wedges for that. And the way they do wear is actually quite nice as well. It's actually quite a nice wear, if that makes sense. Sit. I cannot hit this distance today for love nor money. That one's gone long as well. Let's see if we can send one in just a little bit shorter. There we go. It only took 4 attempts, but that's the one we were after. Okay, so we'll look at just how receptive these wedges are. Not my best stuff, but actually tour average wise, we haven't done too bad. We've got a really good one here that's at about 10 feet, and that one came in nice and low and stopped pretty much on a dime. These are the ones that have really impressed me. So these have landed on down slopes and they've still managed to hold the ground. If this one wasn't a premium wedge, if this was a budget wedge with not great grooves, that one's finishing 40 feet away. Instead we've got 15 feet, and these two especially, look at the gradient on this downslope. For these to stop where they have done, that one's pretty much stopped in its tracks on the downslope. That's really impressive from these Vokey wedges. But what about this finish? Because this is the gunmetal finish, and for me, I quite like it. I don't like a black finish because they mark up so much. I like practicing bunker shots. I like practicing different shots from different lies. And these haven't done too bad mark-up wise. You can see that they've marked up a little bit on the face, but realistically, if that was black, it'd look a lot worse. So if I was going to get these clubs to use, I would definitely get them in a raw finish, not the chrome, because chrome on a day like today, it would literally shine up at you and blind you. And that's why a lot of tour players like the raw finish instead of the chrome finish. And you see a huge misconception about these wedges, Vokey in particular, is that they are actually a cast wedge. They're not a forged wedge. So Titleist do incredibly well to get these wedges to feel as soft as they do. Here. But particularly, it's going to depend what ball you're using. If you're using a urethane ball, you're going to get that soft feel. If you're using a Pro V1, for example, they will feel softer than if you're using a true soft that's a much cheaper cover. 56 degree here, and I like playing shots like this where maybe you could play a bump and run, you could play any kind of mishmash of shot, but I like playing one in that lands kind of halfway and just gets a little bit of spin and then runs out. And that's one thing I'll say about these clubs. This isn't it's not an overly negative review. I do think that they could have potentially changed more. They could have even left the SM cycle and tried to spice them up a little bit more. But then there's a huge saying in golf and in life, isn't there? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But if you're not going to fix it, don't just slap a new name on it and charge more money, because to me, that doesn't really make a lot of sense. But if you're serious about your golf, then I think these are certainly go on. Oh, that was delightful. These true soft balls, not true soft balls, these tour response balls with the lines on are so good for practicing your short game, by the way. Look at that there. So then you can just see if you get a nice kind of true spin on these. And that's one thing I'll say, to get, look at that again. To get wedges that consistently perform for the best part of, I've been using Vokeys in my bag for probably, how old am I now? For probably 20 years. Which is ridiculous. I know, right back to the days of before the spin milled wedges, the Vokey raw wedges, which were absolutely awesome, and used to leave them outside in a bucket of water to get them rusty. And the reason why I've used them for so long is that they've just done the job. They've always been good. I've always seen them as the best in the market. Are the SM10s the best on the market? They're the most expensive on the market. Are they much better than the other clubs that Titleist make, the SM8, SM9? I'm not particularly too sure, but I must say, very, very enjoyable wedges. If you are going to go and spend your money, I'd recommend you go and get fitted for your wedges. I'd recommend you go and get fitted not only for your gap in front to back kind of dispersion wise, but also around the greens here. Do you play shots like I do here where you want to get a little bit of spin? We're going to jump in the bunker in a second with the lob wedge, because for me, bunkers, I like going in them because I'm quite good at getting out of them generally, and it's important for me that I have the right club for those shots. A little bit higher there, that should release out nicely. I'm taking all those shots from this distance and potentially going to hole 5 out of 6 of them. Let's jump in the bunker, let's see how good these wedges are. Guys, get in the comments below, what do you think to these brand new SM10 wedges? For me, I'm always excited when Titleist release new product. I'm excited especially when it's a Vokey or a Scotty Cameron. I just hope moving forward we can maybe spice it up a little bit. I know there's kind of restrictions as to where you can go with the grooves, with potentially the CG and everything, but I remember seeing Bob Vokey and seeing the prototype of the SM8 with the kind of massive thing on the toe that brought the CG out, and it showed that CG shifted away from the face and things like that. That was a game changer, that was revolutionary. I'm aware you can't do that every time, but is it just the same? And you see, the big thing for me here is, am I being a little bit harsh? Because we talk about new driver technology. New drivers are kind of the big items, aren't they? They're the sexy items that everyone wants to spend their money on, but they don't really change year after year. They might tweak CG, they might make them a little bit more forgiving. But when it comes to wedges, something which we use a lot more than a driver potentially, what can really change that much? So I've been using these clubs quite a lot, and I've really, really enjoyed all of them. Go on. Go on. Oh. And the fact that I've took them to America, I've tested them in America, I've took them to Scotland, tested them in Scotland, and they've not let me down at all. I can play any kind of shot realistically I want to with them. I think they're probably still the market leader when it comes, look at these, Bobby, when it comes to short game. Is it just the fact that they haven't gone all in on the marketing? They've just said, you know what, the SM8 was good, the SM9 was good, this is even better. Or does it have to be even better? Is it just as good? That's the big thing which I think I'm trying to get at here. Has Titleist lost its magic? Has Titleist lost its spark around the Vokey wedges? To be honest, I don't think it has. I think the fact that you're not going to move from a set of SM9s into SM10 unless they need changing, unless you need new grooves on there because you've used them a lot, which a lot of people do. Generally, a lot of players will change their wedges every season or every 2 seasons. So maybe that's why Titleist don't feel the need to change them as much. Come on, we need to hole one of them. That was even higher, that was gorgeous. That might be where Titleist are going with that, and maybe they could kind of spell it out a little bit more. What a shot to finish on. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed that, smash that subscribe button below. Let me know what do you think to the launch of the brand new Vokey SM10 wedges. I like them. After all that, see you tomorrow.